So one of the chapters is called Making the Practice of Eating Therapeutic.
Huh.
And this is the point, right? Is that the idea behind the food for thought meals is that they're a practice. I think we talked about this briefly, maybe during the meeting or maybe it was online. So talking about the power of practice, and there's just one section that I sort of flipped to that I'll just go ahead and start with. And just some quotes that are fairly interesting that'll kind of get the thought processes going. I think you'll kind of get a sense of this. So this is a quote. A person does not know what it is to swim unless he or she actually swims. Um, this author, Latimer, supports my idea that we must practice, however imperfectly, the life we want to lead. And I quote him, the process itself is the healing journey and intrinsically contains the rewards. Another quote, experience is thus not so much something one has as it is the process of learning in which one engages. This whole self, again, we talked about that in the time, which is it's using our whole being. Its embodied experiential learning process is something that we humans, especially Westerners, it seems, need to reclaim, renew, revitalize, and respect, and especially in regards to the stories, myths, heritage, traditions around food, and the body that reveal the universal truths of humankind. That's a little bit deep, but the point is that we've got to get back to experiential learning, learning by doing.
Yep.
That the process is the journey. The journey is the process. So the idea of sharing food in a food for thought meal talks a little bit about this next section, which is what are the stories, myths, and traditions about food that have been lost? We need to create a shared story around food and the body. The story is written and rewritten by the group as the group progresses over time. This is why groups must be done over and over as a practice of primary experiential learning. So I think that we don't think of food the way we think of meditation or the way we think of yoga or the way we think of prayer or journal writing, but we ought to in this case. That's the whole idea. Your question back to me about, wow, this was hard for me to stay focused on the food, and it sort of seems sort of meditative. That's exactly the point, that we need that practice of being present in the moment with food and with our bodies, but we need to do it in an environment that is supportive of the challenges that are inherent to that experience. And that's one of the other things about food for thought meals is there's no judgment. It's not therapy. We're not trying to judge anyone or tell anyone how they should do it or how they should feel. How rare is it as a way to be with food where there's no expectations, there's no judgment, there's no criticism, there's no must get this, must learn this, must know this, must remember that. So it's about imperfect practice. There is really no other practice. If we think about it, we only practice anything imperfectly. If you were doing something perfectly, then you're really not learning, right? You figured out how to do it.
Right.